Max, how are we? Like, are we good?
We're good. You have more of a problem with memes than you do with me. That's fact.
I love you. I don't like memes. He's mean. Like, what is his problem with me?
Well, you report things about the
about
Jets.
the Jets.
There's a trend with memes where he just doesn't like reporters who talk about the Jets because it's never good news. So he thinks that you're always making
He
up
definitely
bad stuff.
hates you then.
Yeah. He thinks I just like wake up and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put out a report about the Jets just to piss off memes.
But you do know that sometimes when you hit send on a tweet that's bad about the
Jets,
you think about memes for a second and you're like, oh, he's gonna hate this one.
Yeah, I definitely do. Scoop City is brought to you by Thursday Night Football on Prime Video. Hey, everybody. I'm the Athletic Senior NFL Insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel. I played 14 years in the NFL.
Chase, we've got a big one today. We have one of the hosts from the Pardon My Take podcast joining the show, PFT Commenter. If you listen to their show, and if you know anything about him, you know he is a diehard Commanders fan. And with the Commanders just appearing like they finally have it together, we thought we'd invite him on to Scoop City today to just talk about what the vibes are for Commanders fans, but also he loves anything NFL related. So he asks us a few questions.
He's a funny dude.
And yeah, he is one smart comedic genius. So I'm so psyched that he's joining Scoop City. And then I am taking you to Scoop Court. Do you want to know what that is?
Wait, what?
I'm taking you to
Scoop
Scoop Court.
I haven't been to court in a while.
Good. That's a good sign. That means you're a good civilian. You are. I have not.
Good civilian.
Civilian? Is it civilian? Resident? Citizen. That was the word I was looking for.
What
you
are
are
you? I'm a civilian,
citizen.
ma'am.
You
Yes,
are a good
ma'am.
citizen. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to Scoop Court with you. I am the judge, which I'm sure that's a shocker to you.
Why?
We are going to weigh in on some of the big arguments of the season, and we're going to decide what is fair, what is not fair. And I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with. So we are headed to court. I hope you got a good lawyer. We got the Giants owner saying that he has no plans on firing his head coach, Brian Daboll, his general manager, Joe Schoen. We've got Cooper Kupp on the trade block. And we, of course, have the NFL trade deadline in less than 2 weeks. We got so much to pack into the show. So let's get right to it. Here is what I'm hearing around the league. Well, it is official. Deandre Hopkins is a Kansas City Chief. As we know, this team is on their quest for the three-peat. Chase, I know that we've been texting all week long, and you've been talking about it tons on television over the last few days. This addition immediately makes the Chiefs better, or do you still see them as just being the Chiefs that were what the Chiefs were a few weeks ago?
Look, I think they're going to three-peat regardless. If I'm being real, and that says a lot. Like you get a generational talent, really one of the best receivers numbers-wise since 2013 in Deandre Hopkins. But I did a little research. The last 2 years, he had 1,000 yards. This year, the targets are down. He's 32 years old. He's getting slower. I was really excited about this move when I first heard about it. I called you. You were breaking this news. It was just like everywhere. And then I went to my dressing room on the show that we're on the facility, and I watched every single one of DeAndre Hopkins' targets this year. Now, I understand what people are probably thinking. It's from Will Levis and it's from Mason Rudolph. It's not Patrick Mahomes. I get it. But when he was lined up outside, it's a really limited route tree. It was a hitch. It was a go ball, like back shoulder, and it was a slant. And that's really sort of what he's been. He's been a 50-50 ball receiver. He's never been a good separator from coverage. Where the Titans, and where I implore Andy Reid to use this guy, is in the slot. I think he fills Rashee Rice's role in the slot. I think he helps out alongside Travis Kelce in the slot. And I was watching him in zone coverage, and he's elite. Not good. He's elite in zone coverage. He's lost a step, put him in there. He's got a really good feel. Him and Patrick Mahomes can get on the same page. So I sort of worked myself through this where, okay, I'm excited about it. I don't know if he makes him a ton better. He fills a hole, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And so, a lot of people are interested in how this came together because we'd been reporting here on the show that the Chiefs have no money. They were not trying to make some big splash. They do their homework, right? They checked in with all the different teams that had wide receivers that were on the trade block, that were available, right? They looked into all of it. They looked into Devontae Adams. They looked into Amari Cooper. But for them, the DeAndre Hopkins' deal came together quick. Like, this wasn't something they were sort of trailing along for a few weeks. Just a week ago, Hopkins wasn't even sure what was going on. He wasn't even sure what the market was for him. The Titans weren't sure what the market was for him. They weren't sure what they were even going to do in terms of the trade. So the story broke really early in the morning, but a lot of the business side of it happened the night before. And it moved quick. It moved quickly, and it went from DeAndre Hopkins being a Tennessee Titan to immediately he's on a jet, headed out to be a Kansas City Chief. And now it's official. And look, you saw Sky Moore was placed on IR. I don't believe that the Chiefs are going to go back to the table here and go, all right, well, let's go get another guy. They could probably use one. I think if one falls in their lap, that would really be the only situation where I could see them doing it.
Actually, like, I mean, I know they're not actively seeking it, but
I don't think they're aggressive.
See them doing it though. Yeah.
I think, look, if something falls to them, they're going to do it. But I don't think this is something where Andy Reid and Brett Veach are sitting going, this is a need. We got to figure this out. How can we make this work? I don't truly get that sense. But, you know, in terms of how you highlight DeAndre Hopkins, I do think the factor that's interesting in all this is, you know, and you've brought this up before, just Travis Kelce getting older, right? Mike Silver did a story on the Kansas City Chiefs recently where Travis was pretty open with Mike. He was like, look, I'm not getting younger. I'm not getting faster, right? I don't think he's on some outrageous decline. He's just really not at the form we're used to seeing him at this point of the year. I still have all the belief in the world that Travis Kelce pops up in the playoffs. But this is a good insurance. This is good options for Patrick Mahomes, who we know, you know, is comfortable in you know, sort of that backyard football style where DeAndre Hopkins is one of the most respected receivers in the league with finding ways to make plays.
Yeah, and with DeAndre Hopkins, it's you throw it up to him, the worst thing that's going to happen is an incomplete pass. It's not going to get intercepted, and that's what DeAndre Hopkins is. That's what he's made his entire really living off of, and it's been really good. Is he's been the best 50-50 ball receiver in all of football, I would say, since 2013. I mean, the stats back it up. And then as far as the Travis Kelce aspect, like, yeah, he's slowing down. He's slowing down. I understand teams are still trying to stop him specifically now because their top two receivers, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, are out. So all the effort and eyes go to Travis Kelce. I think this is actually a move that would make Travis Kelce open up even more because now defenses are going to be worrying about DeAndre Hopkins. So that's what I like to see. I don't think this is a situation where, hey, they're trading for, you know, DeAndre Hopkins because they feel like Kelce's lost it, or at least they would never say that. I do think there's some juice in the tank, though, because I actually thought about that. I'm like, well, I wonder what it says about the Travis Kelce thing. I was like, he's still got it. I think this will actually help Kelce get open more.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's just someone else they're going to have to worry about. And it's wild to think it's DeAndre Hopkins. You know, like DeAndre Hopkins with the Kansas City Chiefs is like taking me a few days to let that sink in. And he's
crazy.
even said, he's been open about it. Like, he hasn't played competitive football in a while in terms of being on a team that's really trying to go all the way. So we'll see what he'll be.
How excited are you, though, if you're DeAndre Hopkins and you go from Mason Rudolph and Will Levis to the best player in the world? Like, come on now. You're going to be playing in the AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. Like, come on.
Chase, every player on the trade block wants to go to Kansas City. Yeah. Like, that's just how it works.
But it also, and I didn't say this, but like, everyone wants to go there. And you said it, Veach is very selective. But this just proves why he's one of the best GMs in all of football. He got him for $2.5 million in a fifth-round pick. That's chump change for what DeAndre Hopkins could be specifically in Andy Reid's offense. So it just, once again, proves why he's the best GM.
Right, so DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City, Amari Cooper's with the Buffalo Bills, Devontae Adams is with the Jets. We had like just wild receiver news. We've got a bunch on the trade block that we'll get to in just a minute. But of those three that have landed in new homes over the last 2 weeks, you know, we just touched on Hop. Collectively, which move do you think is actually going to be the most impactful? Is it Amari in Buffalo helping Josh Allen? Is it Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers? Which one do you think, like, which one do you like the most?
Oh, it's Amari. It's Amari by a landslide for me, because when you watch and you turn on the film of Josh Allen before he had Amari Cooper, it was rough. They were winning because they were running the football. Ray Davis and James Cook, excellent runners. Shakira was in and out, Kincaid in and out, like all this stuff. And it was difficult because the Ravens I think the Ravens game versus the Bills made Brandon Beane, the GM, be like, we need a guy. Because all the Ravens did was they played press man-to-man, and they said, go beat us. And they got embarrassed. And then the next game, Josh Allen went 9 of 30 for the Houston Texans. And then Brandon Beane said, hold up, wait a minute. Let me go get Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper restructured his deal, and you reported on it. So they're paying him like $800,000 the rest of the year. It's a genius move. It's a genius move.
Smart.
But Amari Cooper still has it. He's still one of the best route runners. He's a separator at the receiver. So I really like that move.
Great observation by you on the Ravens game, because there's truth to that. That was the game that they realized as an organization.
Yes.
They have a lot of youth. They have a lot of young guys. They need somebody that can handle, manage, and have that experience that this offense needs. So great call by you, because that is the reality.
I forgot to mention Keon Coleman, which he went for 125 last game. It's going to be great for him too. It's going to open him up, but he's also going to get to learn from a vet.
Yeah. Is that wild to think we had Josh on the show and he was fine with what that roster was, and now
he's saying
just
he's fine.
Quarterback translation.
Yep.
All right, so full disclosure, Thursday Night Football is in action in just a few hours. We're recording before kickoff, but all eyes are going to be on the Rams and Cooper Kupp, because his name has been in a lot of reports about a possible trade. We reported over the last week, Chase, that the Rams have been talking to several different teams, trying to see if there's a deal they can work out, knowing that he's.
We didn't report it. You did. You found that out. I didn't find nothing out.
So Mike Silver and I reported that the Rams were being proactive with this as well. Teams are calling.
That's actually crazy.
They're reaching out to teams, trying to. And we talked about this in the last show. Knowing that. He's 31 years old. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's very expensive for this team. I understand the business side. I think that is in play here. It makes sense for the Rams to do that if they think this year is not going to be a successful one. I don't fully believe the words out, though. I still think if they go on some win streak here, it may be harder for them to move Cooper, but they have some time here. We'll see where all the chips land. We'll see if there's other teams that jump in, right? Because that's something I think it's important to paint, is there's still teams trying to figure out what they are as we're 2 weeks away from the trade deadline.
Yeah, sort of bombshell a little bit, because I'm thinking Cooper Kupp, and then I went back and watched some film, and I'm like, he's not the same because of injuries, right? He still can be a very successful player in this league, but he's not the Triple Crown winner that he was in the past. And for me, it comes down to, one, the Rams they're not going to make the playoffs. They have 16 guys hurt. They have 16 rookies out of their 53-man roster that are suiting up. 16 rookies. So they're going young there. It does make sense. It's like, who's going to give up, first of all, a draft pick, and then second of all, his salary? He's a ton for an older receiver, right? I'd imagine that the Rams are sort of stuck here, right?
Yeah, so he's 31, right? He's making $15 million this year. He's scheduled to make $20 million next year, of which $5 million of that is already guaranteed. Okay. So look at it as, if a team wants him, they're going to need to at least $9 million in cap room to absorb the contract.
Gotcha, cap room.
Right? Unless the Rams help, which they've had some conversations with teams about, okay, is there a way we can meet here and we can pay some of this? The Rams don't want to pay this. I have two teams that make sense.
I have two teams. And you're going to tell me if I'm hot or cold.
Okay. In terms of the teams that are chatty with the Rams?
No, I just think that I want him to go see. I want him in up on.
Yeah, where do you think he lands? Who do you think should be picking up the phone and calling them and going,
well,
let's do this?
The first one's the Chargers. He doesn't have to leave L.A. He's right down the road. He can go play for Harbaugh. He gets to be a slot merchant again with Justin Herbert. Did you see the tweet I tweeted out about all the receivers that Justin Herbert threw for over 346 yards with?
Did.
Will Dissly was the leading. That's not a diss to Will Dissly, But like, come on, you send this guy out here, Herbert, without a true number one receiver, and he's getting smoked. They're getting beat by Arizona. I think he would be. I don't know the cap room. Obviously, forget about money for a second. But the other one I think makes a lot of sense. It's Kyle Shanahan up there in the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk hurt. Okay, Juwan Jennings didn't practice. Debo wrist injury plus an illness. Like, Brock Purdy has no receivers. Imagine what Kyle Shanahan could do with Cooper Kupp, similar to what he did when Christian McCaffrey was in the league for a few years, like a long time, and they were like, Christian McCaffrey was good. And then Christian McCaffrey goes to Kyle Shanahan's offense. We're like, he's great, he's amazing. Like, I feel like that'd be good for Cooper.
Yeah, I love these ideas. I don't necessarily know if the Rams would be willing to do this with San Francisco. Right, this comes up. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, division.
In regards to trades and
forget about divisions.
Some GMs will tell you get the best return you can get. Don't worry about who you're going to, right? Whereas some teams are a little bit tougher about that. Like, I don't want to help you. I'm Sean McVay. I'm Les Snead. I'm not looking to help you, Kyle Shanahan challenge. Now, look, they all have a great relationship, so perhaps they could come to an agreement if that's what Kyle thinks is good for the team. But there's definitely teams that were interested, that have either filled the receiver spot, right? The Chiefs were a team that were talking to them about possibly trying to see if something could work.
Chiefs getting them, my gosh.
Too much money, though. And that's been the problem the whole time with the Chiefs. Everything's just too much money. The Steelers have been in on every one of these receivers, it feels like. Are they going to be able to put something together to make this work for the Rams in order for this to work? Now, I do think time is one of the most important factors in all this, in terms of where we're going to be in the next few days. And I do think the narrative of all this is going to change by next week. So we will be keeping an eye of it. Of course.
But why will the narrative change?
Because I do think a lot of teams are watching Cooper Kupp in action, and they want to see from a health side how he's feeling.
Yeah,
right?
Say that information. Lead with that information. So I'm like, what narrative? What are you talking about?
Yeah. So teams are watching to see how he looks, because he got hurt in week 2. We haven't seen him, and he's injury prone. That's why the Tampa Bay Bucks aren't going to go after him. Why give up that type of draft compensation, pay that kind of salary, and you're not even sure, if he's going to be able to be healthy out on the field for a rental.
Can I ask you something that's not in the rundown? And you mentioned them, and it's the Steelers. Do you think the Steelers make a move for a guy at the deadline?
I do. I think the Steelers are trying to do something.
Do you have any idea the type of guy that they need? Because they have a 50-50 guy with Georgia. They need a slot guy, or is that what they're leaning toward?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't I rip through some of the receivers that the Steelers could possibly look at, right? Like, let's just say they have a board. I don't think they have a board, but let's pretend they have a board. They probably have an Excel sheet.
How that always works. I've never got traded.
GMs I talked to, one of them I spoke to today has an Excel sheet. He did, because
I'm like, open up my computer.
Yeah, I'm like, can you send that to me?
Yeah, come on.
But I think most do, actually. Now that I think about it, I know another GM that does it. So Excel is the way to go, apparently. Darius Slayton, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Demarcus Robinson,
going back.
KJ Osborne, Taquan Thornton, Kendrick Bourne. Any of those names make you go, ooh?
Kendrick Bourne sort of fits that mold. Quick, twitchy, slot guy. I thought for a while, and I don't know why I thought this, because I just made it up in my mind, I sort of liked Darius Slayton, and I was hoping that he would lay him with the Chiefs. He's a speed guy, like, got some quickness to him, got some quick twitch, pretty good hands. It really depends on like what the Steelers are looking for. Like, they got an outside guy with Pickens. They got Freiermuth over the middle of the field. They need Van Jefferson showed up with Russell Wilson too, but man, I think Slayton would be a upgrade over like Van Jefferson, to be honest with you.
What about Cooper Kupp? Do you like Cooper Kupp in that offense?
Not really. That's more of a downfield play action shot play team when they're throwing the ball. As you saw, like Russell Wilson was 8 of 9 on like play action dropbacks in that game for 150 yards. Russell Wilson throws the moon ball. So Kupp, I don't know if he has vertical speed. He's great in the slot third down. I mean, if they need a third down guy, yeah, for sure. But I think I'd rather have take the top off guy.
Yeah. All right. So we got the trade deadline coming up next week. We're going to really dive into this thing. I think probably most of our shows are going to be about what we're hearing
great.
on the streets about some of these movements. And look, we know every year there aren't the most blockbuster names that go down during the trade deadline, but it's gotten better. There's been an uptick over the last few years where we're seeing way more movement around the trade deadline. It's not the NBA, it's not baseball, but it's definitely got a little bit more juice. So we're going to be all over it next week.
It's moved back a week. Hold on. It's moved back a week. Why?
Yes. Because there's an extra game. After they changed the schedule, they forgot to adjust the trade deadline. So they were like, they just
straight up forgot. Okay, so it's easy as that. Okay. Like, I didn't know that. So our viewers didn't know that. I'm like, I had no idea.
So the name I really am watching, Chase, is Bryce Young. And I'm saying this, and I know we talked about this last show too. I want to see if there's going to be a team after Bryce Young plays, because he's going to get some action this weekend, because Andy Dalton's not going to be able to play because of that unfortunate car accident he got in with his family.
Yeah.
And he's got this sprained thumb. So we're going to get a look at Bryce Young. And I don't know if this was planned from the Panthers side in terms of, getting close to the trade deadline and putting him out there. I don't believe it was. I think it was supposed to be Andy Dalton. But talking to people around the league, the sentiment shared with me is they need to play him. They need to get him on the field so other teams can see what he can do, to just try to get an idea if maybe there's something.
I disagree.
You think they should just keep him on ice and just maybe
he's going to hurt
forget?
his trade value. He's going to hurt his trade value. He's not, Diana, what has gotten better?
It can't get any worse than it is now.
Oh, you just wait and see. They're playing the Denver Broncos, Diana. They're the number 3 defense in all of football. They're the number 1 pressure rate. Carolina has the 2nd worst offensive line behind New England. It's going to get worse. So you're going to put him out there. First of all, you have a chance for him to get hurt. Like, hello. And of course, other GMs want to see him play to see if it's worth it. But, like, what's 1 or 2 games going to do? You're going to get him hurt. Like, I would save him and just stash him and trade him if it's a good price, and trade him in the offseason. Like, what are we doing here?
No, but I'm saying, so you think that they should just never play him for the rest of this year? Stick with Andy through and through, and then just hope that that some program can bring him in and resuscitate him the way we've seen all these other quarterbacks.
It's a dysfunctional organization in Carolina. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Sam Darnold. Those are the 2 biggest Carolina Panthers guys that have blossomed since they left, and it's dysfunctional. Let's just. I had
a long talk with one of Bryce's coaches from Alabama recently about him. Like, did we miss something in the NFL? What are we not seeing?
Evaluators.
He's like he has it. He just needs the right people around him. He's not getting the right coaching. So,
you can't tell me that you put him. No, he's not going.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. Where would
go to Kevin O'Connell? Go to Minnesota.
What about Sean McVay? What about the Rams? Right? Like,
here's one which might seem crazy. Go to freaking Andy Reid. Go be a backup. Like, you don't have to play if you're not ready. The backup quarterback. Tons of them are playing. Like, go to Andy Reid. Like, I know he probably wants to play, but my gosh, like, there's guys out there that will fix him for sure.
Yeah. What's the story of this year? The story has been these quarterbacks that haven't found success.
Baker and Sam,
that later in their careers they're finding it because the theme of I feel like the theme of our shows recently are the teams that have the good program. So we will see what happens with the Bryce Young situation. It's definitely something worth keeping an eye on because, unfortunately, the rest of that team isn't worth watching. So they're definitely going to be in a fire sale mode, knowing that this season is not going well. All right. I want to talk owners with you real quick, only because there's a lot of chat this past week. Jerry Jones coming out talking, making his radio appearance after he made his radio appearance the week before and just offended everybody, and it was just a big mess. But he didn't really say too much in his return to the radio, but he did say enough to make you go, wait, criticizing Mike McCarthy and criticizing the play calling. And look, we know Jerry kind of talks all over the place, and it happens, but it feels like you shouldn't do that. Like, you shouldn't be.
You think?
You shouldn't be publicly saying these things about your head coach. The way coaches shouldn't be saying the things about their players, like we're seeing in New England with Coach Mayo saying that his team is soft. These are things you do behind closed doors. These are things that you say in private. This needs to get better. But with Jerry, we know he didn't extend Mike McCarthy. It's very difficult for me to find anyone in the league who thinks that Mike is going to keep his job this year. Mike knows. So are we just going to make this ugly?
Fire him. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not keeping him. Why? Okay, I get what you're saying from a GM and insider's perspective. I'm telling you from a player's perspective, if you know your head coach is going to be gone, why drag him in the media? Because Coach Mike is a great play caller. He's a great head coach, right? He's just 12. It's not going his way. They didn't lame duck him. They're sort of embarrassing him, in my opinion. I don't put all this on Mike. Mike's got some say in it. Why are you doing this? Like, why? Like, I know. What are you doing? Like, we're just making it worse.
We're designing bad plays, or we're designing bad concepts.
Bad offense. Like, what? Like, that's such a slap in the face. Like, just fire him.
Yeah. Right. Well, then you have the Giants owner who's doing the opposite of firing. He's showing confidence in Brian Daboll and GM Joe Schoen after Saquon Barkley just lit them up at MetLife Stadium. Like, the timing of this is so interesting to me. I don't think it could have been any harder for an owner to watch the game that he just saw in his own stadium with his former player doing what he did to them, which is just tear them up. Yeah. But he came out and said, obviously, we're all very disappointed with where we are right now. But I'm going to say one thing. We're not making any changes this season, and I do not anticipate making any changes in the offseason either.
Yeah,
do you believe
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I believe it. I think Daboll first of all, you fired Daboll. It's going to be hard pressed to find someone that's better fit for this job. Daboll's got to, he took him to the freaking playoffs. He won a playoff game with Daniel Jones. Get the quarterback position fixed. It's a hot take and whatever you want to say.
I love before you give a hard thing, you give our audience a heads up. Hot take coming in.
Because people will disagree, and that's fine. But I don't think the Giants are that bad of a football team. I think they got a bad quarterback. I think they have a pretty good defense. They need another playmaker outside of Malik, and you can win some games.
Here's my problem.
The quarterback position's I think the timing's weird. Right?
It's not even Halloween. Usually they do this. The owners come out with this vote of confidence after Thanksgiving, right? They do the whole.
So you have the timing down.
Well, yeah, because I cover this all the time, right? And I covered John Mara when he told us that Ben McAdoo wasn't going to get fired in 2017. Well, guess who was fired 3 weeks later? Ben McAdoo. Same with Joe Judge in 2021. Late December, Joe Judge is coming back. Guess who was fired 2 weeks later?
So
Joe Judge.
Fire him, or do you think they're going to fire him?
Right. So, have you seen Scarface? This is kiss of death. This is so kiss of death. Nobody wants to hear this. This happened to me last year. Thanksgiving week, I'm talking to high-ranking sources in Tennessee. They're telling me Mike Vrabel's the guy. He's the future. He's a great game manager. He's we view him the way Mike Tomlin is viewed in Pittsburgh in terms of being sort of the soul and heart and core of this team. And then they fired him.
I'm naive. You're right.
None of this means anything. You have to say this right now. Because your team is still in it, right? There's still hope that the Giants can be great. John Mara wants his team to be successful. Why shed any doubt? Why give Brian Daboll any anxiety about his job? If anything, maybe he's given him some relief and gives him some confidence to get this team back on board. So let's just remember this conversation, because I have a feeling in January we're going to go, wow. I told you kiss of death. So I'm just going by historicals. Just how we've seen this in the past.
All right.
So we will see.
You're really smart.
Well, thank you so much. Not a lot of people say that. All right, let's stick in the NFC. When we come back, let's take a quick break. We've got PFT Commenter from Pardon My Take joining the show, one of our biggest guests to join Scoop City. We're going to talk all about the Commanders, everything NFL, and probably get a little weird. We'll be right back. All right, back here on Scoop City, I'm so excited to have our next guest join us. He is the star of Pardon My Take, one of my really good friends. Although I don't really want to flex that. I feel like that's a flex, right? Because I feel like you're friends with everybody, PFT. Thanks so much for hanging out and joining Scoop City. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing good. This is kind of surreal to me because Diana, sometimes she tells me that she listens to Pardon My Take when she falls asleep. It knocks her out. And it's interesting because recently I've been watching Chase Daniel videos on YouTube breakdowns of Jaden Daniels as I fall asleep because I can't consume enough Jaden Daniels content. So I just want to hear. It got so bad the other day, Chase, that I watched every highlight that I could find of Jaden Daniels because I'm just so excited to watch.
I gotta start giving
Jaden
you your
content.
own breakdowns just to make you feel better at night. Because there's some plays that I don't put. I only put on 12. He plays like 60 a game, bro.
Yeah, but I'll watch all the highlights, and I'll get to the point where I've reached the end of the internet, where now I'm watching like just the still shots, and it's got like a AI computer voice narrating about what happened in the play.
No, you don't.
And it's done by a guy in the Philippines, and it makes no sense. But I'm okay. I've seen every single Jaden Daniels highlight.
Speaking of Jaden Daniels, your sweatshirt, dude. All right. So funny story, and you probably won't believe me, but when I was in college in 2007, I was up for the Heisman. I finished 4th in the Heisman. Tebow won it that year. Missouri made those exact sweatshirts that said Chase Daniels, and it's the Jack Daniels thing. And that's the first thing I noticed. And now you got the Jaden Daniels. Tell me, where'd you get that, dude? I thought it was only for us.
I made it right after the draft this year. So right after we got him, I was like, everything's turning around. Washington has our big three now. We've got Jaden Daniels, we've got not Ron Rivera, and we've got not Dan Snyder. And that's to me the start of a big dynasty. So the night of the draft, I was like, JD, Daniels, let's just do, instead of old number 7, old number 5. Dude. And then just kind of hope that we don't get sued. So
identical. I love it.
All right, before we dive into all of this, because we have tons of football to talk to you about, obviously the Commanders, a bunch of other things. If you're listening to Scoop City and maybe you just don't have enough time to listen to the #1 sports podcast in America, part of my take, you may not actually know the voice that you're hearing. So I've had this question posed to me before many times in my life. I know you have as well. So could you answer for our audience? Who are you?
I mean, that's a good question. Have you ever asked a guest that before? Or it's a good question.
She's nosy. It's
usually pretty clear. We have a general manager on, we have an owner on, we have a player on. We know who they are. We don't. It's very difficult, as I've shared with this team here, that even my own family, they don't really know who you are in my life. What does he do all day? I'm I'm not sure. So can you explain to the audience that isn't familiar with your work essentially who you are?
Sure. I'm just a guy. I started a Twitter account back in 2012 making fun of internet commenters. And then I started writing full entire blogs and articles in the voice of an internet commenter. And it got to the point where I started to do a podcast. And then the podcast kind of blew up. And now I'm just a normal guy that watches a shitload of sports. Can I cuss on this podcast?
Yeah, of course.
I watch a shit fuckload of sports, and I just talk about it. We're just normal guys for the most part. I don't write as much as I used to, but that was kind of the start of me getting into to the sports.
Well, how in the world do you know Dianna? Because that's what I want to know. Because you've been friends with her longer than I have, thank goodness. But what? Tell me a good story about Dianna. How did y'all meet? I don't get it.
I was a tow truck driver in New York City, and so we got to be on a pretty familiar basis because it was a weekly thing. It's Friday. Oh, Diana's going to come in and get her car back again. And so we just kind of hit it off, had a good conversation. And
it is not true. Chase, I was a local sports anchor in Washington, D.C. I was new to just everything Washington in terms of sports. I'd gone to school in the area, but I left, came back. So I get this job, and I was pretty lost at the time. I was supposed to be the third sports anchor, but the 1 and the 2 end up leaving for network television. So here I am in local news knowing nothing. But all I knew from my instinct of watching and talking and listening to people is that everyone loves their football there. So I just dove straight into it and was I'm going to be obsessed with the then Washington Redskins. They are going to be everything I talk about and report on. And so I would work so many hours, and I'd be up late at the office, and Twitter was blowing up back then. That's when it started. And I would just have this one guy always messaging me on Twitter publicly.
Into your DMs. Okay.
No, not DMs. Let's be fair.
Never, oh my God, It was never like that. It was never creepy. No, it was creepy, but it was obsessive in a football space. I'm this guy is so annoying. He responds to every tweet that I have about Robert Griffin III or Kirk Cousins. And I don't really know what happened after that. I just remember trying, Googling and asking around, who is PFT Commenter? Who's this guy?
Yeah, there was. I think the first time you responded to me might have been you said something about like, I got to start working out again. Remind me next week that I should be working out. And then I was just online like 5 days later, and I was like, oh, I should just tweet at her and be like, hey, you said that you were going to work out or something like that. I forget what it was. And you're like, oh, thanks. And then, yeah, we just started going back and forth. It was mostly questions about Robert Griffin III, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's the last time that I felt that good about a football team was like back in 2012.
What's your best story about her?
About Dianna?
Do we know that?
No, we have time. Yeah.
Best story about Dianna. I mean, she's a psycho. She's crazy.
Well, that's what we.
I'm afraid of.
Tell us something we don't know, please.
I'm afraid of her.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
Her family's nuts, but they're awesome. Let's see. Her mom kept trying to get me to move in next door to their beach house.
What?
Her mom would be like, "You got to buy this house, PFT. You got to buy this house. I think it's for sale." I was like, "I don't know. I like the Jersey Shore, but I don't know. I don't know if I like it that much."
So he references the tow truck thing because we've been out many of times together in Manhattan when PFT used to live in the city. So Chase, we used to have a little bit of a tradition where I would travel to a football game on Sunday, report all day on ESPN, and I'd catch the flight right after the game. Fly in, and I would always meet up with him, and we would sit at the bar, order a million beers, and just talk about the day. Like, what did I miss? Because I was always at one game, right? So, like, if I was at the Chiefs Bills game, I missed everything else. And yes, you can watch highlights and you can read, but I was like, he'll give it to me. He'll give me everything I need to know. So it was almost like I had my private part in my take show, and so we would just like share ideas and thoughts, and that became sort of the core of our friendship. And then he just took off and blew up, and now they have this amazing show, and we have ours, and we're competing against each other, and it's weird to have the competitor here, if we could even call ourselves that, but everything I feel like
I probably gave you like 99% of your background knowledge on Blake Bortles from just drinking beers and just telling you
I see
everything
the
that
jersey
Blake
in the background.
Yeah, everything that Blake did that day. I was her number one news source for all Blake news. And at the time, yeah, like part of my take was starting to get kind of big, but to Diana's credit, she would always be like, "You're poor. I'm buying these beers." And so she was saying it in a very mean way.
Yeah,
but
the big
but
girl at
she was,
ESPN. I got you.
She was doing a nice thing, just saying mean things while she was doing it.
I would always wind up like either grabbing a hotel room or staying at a friend's house, and my car would get towed. So it happened because I park illegally. So
I like it.
It wasn't even inside. It's not really an inside joke. It's actually kind of known about me. So unfortunately, PFT's dug me out of a lot of holes in that situation where it paid the tow bill for me to get out of there. So
there are worse things that a former ESPN employee has done with a tow truck driver.
Yeah.
That's a good no comment. I just wanted to see you squirm when I said that.
She got a little uncomfortable.
Things happen. Sometimes you lose it. All right, Commanders. So this is really odd to be covering a team that I know is having success and making you so happy and is bringing you so much joy. So what has this really been like for you personally, knowing that you have a team that you can root for and it's real? Like this isn't fraudulent. There's realness here.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, I haven't felt this way since like 2012, probably the second half of that season, and there've been few and far between moments in Washington where you've actually been excited to watch your team play. And I always refer to this moment like when the quarterback drops back and he releases a pass. For 20 years, I've had tremendous anxiety at that moment where I'm like, oh shit, something really bad is about to happen. And with Jaden, after that game, I think it was it might have been like the second half of the Giants game in week 2, where the offense was moving. He was in control. He was in command of the offense. We weren't scoring touchdowns, but we were getting up and down the field, where I finally hit a moment where I'm like, every time he throws a pass, I think something good is about to happen, like something awesome is about to happen. And that's very, very new for me, and I'm still getting used to it. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that in the background I'm dreading like the worst thing possible to happen, because I've got these scars that I can't get rid of just from the laundry list of quarterbacks that we've had. And that's no disrespect to Chase. I know, Chase, this is a big weekend for you because you were a Redskin and you were also a Bear.
Yes.
So do you have a split jersey the Washington and Chicago
I
one?
don't, and that's what I was going to ask you about, because in the draft, right, like you had Caleb Williams, big cat, like loves him some Caleb Williams, and then you got Jaden Daniels, which in my opinion, I thought they were pretty even. A lot of people are like, Caleb, this and that. What did you want in the draft? Did you have any opinions going into the draft on who they should take?
I had Jaden number 1 on my big board.
Really?
On my big board.
I
yes.
love it.
Because you have a board.
I have a board. I have a big
back,
board.
yeah.
It's a very big board, and I had Jaden clear number 1 on there, and that was not because it was obvious that the Bears were going to take Caleb, so I had to just say that I had Jaden number 1. I had Jaden on my big board, and it was weird because going up to the draft, there was like a lot of discussion. Do you want Jaden or do you want Drake May? There was like in DC a lot of back and forth about that, and I was very clear. I was like, I want Jaden.
Yeah.
Jaden, if you watched what he did at LSU, the improvement that he's made, and the type of throws that he can make, this is the guy that I want in DC. And there are a lot of people, they said they wanted Drake May, and I was like, I don't want Drake. I want Jaden Daniels. So I've been taking a lot of victory laps about that because it's rare that I'm right about something.
So I'm impressed you knew that I played though for the Redskins. Okay, because I was 4th string, and the year was 2009. Let's see how well you know and love your Redskins. What was the quarterback room in training camp that year under Jim Zorn?
Okay,
who were the
under
4
Jim
guys?
Zorn, 2009.
Yep.
Was that? Can I ask one clarifying question?
Yes, you can.
Was that the year that we started? Was it 6-0?
I doubt it because Zorn got fired.
Okay, all right. So it was the year after that. Jason Campbell.
Yes, starter. Love it.
And then who would have been?
Okay, he's an old white dude.
Todd Collins.
Yes.
And also, I mean, Jason. So that's crazy because it was Jason Campbell, Todd Collins, and Chase Daniel, 3 guys that have played for both the Redskins and the Chicago Bears.
Do you know the other one?
Was it?
He made the team because he sold more jerseys than me.
Was it Colt Brennan?
Yes, it was. You know your Redskins. Yeah. That's impressive right there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can go down the list. I think I could probably name every quarterback that started for the Washington franchise since at least like the year 2000.
That's good.
We're talking about all the joy that the team that right now is bringing you. We know that there's been so many like horrible times as a Commander fan. If you were to maybe rank like 3 of the worst times in Washington history off the top of your head where you were like, it doesn't have to be in order, but where you were just like, it's bad. This isn't good.
There's so many to choose from.
And that's not even being like exaggerant, right?
Yeah,
like that's
I would say the swinging gate that Jim Zorn ran on Monday Night Football against the Giants, that was bad. We got very lucky that the Colts ran their little fake punt where it was like one guy, because otherwise more people would be talking about how bad that play was. But
maybe the worst
that was the night. It was bad because it was a terrible play. We should never run it. And also I think that was the night that we had a brand new offensive coordinator that we hired from calling bingo numbers at a senior citizens home. So we're like, this guy's going to fix our offense. And then we come in and we get to see that. That was very low. And besides that, it's so many things that Dan Snyder himself did and just slowly sucked the joy out of the nation's capital. It's hard to really pinpoint like RG3 when his knee was tore up on the field. Oh. That was bad because everybody was saying, get this guy out of the game. His knee is clearly injured right now.
Yeah,
and we were playing in that game at FedEx Field on sand. We used to spray paint the sand green, and we would say that it was
100%.
grass.
It's true.
It was
it's
funny,
in the
corner of the end zone. It was bad. Our cleats would turn green as like the more we play. We're like, where'd you get this green stuff? It's like, well, it's paint. It's sand. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was a tough moment too. I don't know what the third one would be. Maybe when Joe Gibbs left for the second time, because that was the one era of stability that we kind of had throughout the last 25 years, was when Gibbs came back. And I can tell you what probably the highlight of the last 25 years has been, and it's a very sad highlight. Until like Jaden gives me more hope than anything. I'm as happy as I've ever been as a fan, but the second happiest I've been is actually very, very depressing. We won a playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one playoff game in the last, I think, 30 years or so. We won this one playoff game, and Mark Brunell had 35 yards passing, and we won 17-10. And that is the highlight. That's the happiest I've been, because we won a playoff game. Joe Gibbs is back. We're going to turn this around. And then it kind of all fell apart shortly thereafter.
Instead of making you sad, let's talk about something that's going to make you happy, and that's Jameis Winston, because he's getting the start for the Browns this weekend. I don't care about how he plays, because that team stinks right now, but what are you hoping for the pregame motivational speech? Because you know it's going to be epic.
I can't predict it. I would love to be able to try to get it inside Jameis Winston's mind, but I can't. It's going to be awesome. He's going to have people happy. There's going to be joy, at least for some of the players and for some of the fans, because he has fun playing the game. And you've just seen a quarterback in Cleveland that had absolutely no fun when he was playing, and the team had absolutely no fun. So it was very depressing. In fact, I was saying, we just recorded part of my take, and I was talking to Big Cat about this. I feel like it's very rare that the NFL will ever step in and ask an owner to sell a team, because the other owners, they don't want to jeopardize their investment. They don't want themselves to be the next person on the chopping block. But once you start messing with the money, then the other owners get together and they're like, hey, Dan Snyder's had 2 separate spreadsheets for his financials and he's not sharing his right amount with the league. Maybe now we start to put the pressure on him to get out of here. I could see a world where the other NFL owners did that to Jimmy Haslam because of the guaranteed contract. Like it or not, in the NFL, they will put up with a lot of personal indiscretions from players if they're on the roster, and they're like, yeah, whatever, we'll just keep moving on because we're printing money. But the second you start messing with the other owner's money, that's when they get mad about it, and that's when they start to do something. So I don't know. I hope for Cleveland fans that maybe there's a way that they can find a way to get Jimmy Haslam out of there, just for their own pure happiness. But with Jameis coming back, you don't know what you're going to get. He's going to make some crazy plays, and he's going to have probably a couple passes where you'll be like, damn, that was an awesome pass. And then a couple being like, I can't believe Jameis tried to throw this pass. And so it's always fun to watch.
Yeah, it's certainly going to give the Browns a reason for people to at least watch them so they can see what Jameis is. And what happens if he hits success? And then the story becomes, hey, remember when they made that quarterback switch? And then Kevin Stefanski gets Coach of the Year for the 3rd time. Obviously, you're a Commanders fan, but you enjoy football so much. Is there another team right now that you're watching that you find yourself rooting for because you're either amused by them or you find them to be just interesting?
Yeah, I mean, the Lions. I root for the Lions. I love Dan Campbell, and I think Dan Campbell's a lot smarter than he lets on. I think he loves the fact that the media talks about him like he's some meathead, and he's going to have this lion on the sidelines, and he drinks 20 cups of coffee a day, and he's a psycho. And he basically asked the barista at Starbucks, like, hey, can you put 3 packs of Skol into my latte? And I think he sometimes goes way far over that edge just to give some red meat to the media to talk about so that people will continue to underestimate how smart he is. I think he's done a really good job of that. And the Lions, it's kind of the same thing. I feel like there's a bond between Commanders, Browns, Lions, to a certain extent the Bears that have had their quarterback issues as well. But these teams that have been stuck in hell for as long as we can remember, I'm always going to root for teams like that because I feel so happy for the city of Detroit that you've got a fun team with a great offense to watch. And I also like the fact that Dan Campbell, and this has been a recurring theme on part of my take, I think since we started the show back in 2016, I used to play rugby. And when I watch NFL football or just football in general, I think to myself, there is a lot of room for design downfield laterals to be a bigger part of the game. When you have the defense collapsing on one guy, then you've got other guys. If you practice it and if you train it, yeah, exactly like what Kelsey does. If you practice it and if you train on it and you know that the pitch is coming, then you can catch it and you'll have all these holes there to run with because in football, all the defense swarms to the ball carrier. And in rugby, you have to match up one-on-one because they're liable to catch a pass backwards and be able to take the ball down the field. So I've seen that and I've talked about it with every coach, including Dan Campbell. And I was like, you guys have to do more design downfield laterals. It's the future of the NFL. Like it or not, you're going to get some big plays out of it. And I'm not saying, well, actually, yeah, I should just take credit for it. So disregard me saying I'm not saying that. But what they've done on offense is so fun, where they got to the point where they're pitching the ball back to Penei Sewell the other week. And I start to think to myself, like, how much deeper can this playbook go? Like, how many more tricks do they have up their sleeve? I think they've just got plenty more. I think he's got an endless bag.
Yeah, Ben Johnson has an endless bag. PFT, I got a question for you, because on the show we've talked about the rule change in the NFL as far as like the kickoff rule, and we've talked a little bit about, the pitch clock in Major League Baseball. And it got me thinking about other rule changes in different sports, specifically basketball. Do you think anyone could ever dunk a free throw without shooting it?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Chase. I think that's a conversation that we'll have to save for its own podcast. I think we would probably talk for like 30 minutes about that, and everybody would really enjoy it.
Where are you getting this from, Chase? Are you just
what
thinking
do you think?
about
What
this?
do you think?
No, it's good.
Like think about it. Like, you could do it.
He's a smart guy. Like, they talk about there's the line on the ground, but the line, it's not up in the air, right? So you could jump over the line.
What players do you think could do that?
Giannis, I think. I think Giannis, because
Like,
he's a
just
bad
with the reach.
Yeah, and also you're talking about the play clock and the shot clock. You have 10 seconds to shoot a free throw, and sometimes he milks that all the way to like 10 and a half, 11 seconds. But
I think they should.
That's a good idea, Chase.
I think they should.
He's a smart one.
Yeah.
He's the mayor of Scoop City. He won because of his intelligence.
I do have an NFL rule change that I'm kind of serious about. I think that safety should be worth more than 2 points.
How many?
I would say like 4 or 5.
Oh, a 4-point play never existed. Let's do it. I'm in.
It's so hard to get a safety, and like, credit to your defense if they end up getting, credit to your punt team if they down the ball at the 1 yard line. I think that'd be awesome.
So
if it was 4 points or 5 points, would you then still give the team the ball back, or would you have to kick it off? You know what I mean? On safety, you get the ball back with 2 points.
Yeah, I haven't thought that one through. The other outcome to that could be like, instead of kicking the ball off on a safety, you don't get any points, but you get the ball at like the 20 yard line.
You were a XFL kicker, or at least you tried out. Chase, you don't know this, but I was a sideline reporter for the XFL. And I was like,
wait. You were a sideline reporter for the XFL?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
He hate me?
It was a fun year. I'll just put it that, right? PFT came to a lot of games, so he saw the work in progress, but also he tried out to try to be a kicker. He was pretty good. With that being said, what do you think of the kickers right now, having so much success? They seem unstoppable right now.
Yeah, they're too good. Kickers decided to get jacked like 15 years ago, and I think that's when the position really went downhill. I miss the Janikowskis of the world. We kind of have like, Blake Grupe is a pretty funny kicker to look at, because he looks like he's in 7th grade and he's like 120 pounds and 5'6". I miss kickers like that. I miss kickers that you look at and you're like, well, this guy has never lifted a weight in his entire life. He's got one shoe on and he's like smoking Parliament lights on the sideline.
Like John Daly of kickers.
Yeah, I miss kickers like that, but at some point they all got together and they're like, hey, we don't really practice that much. Do you just want to lift weights instead of practice? And then they decided to get in great shape, and now they're kicking the ball like 70 yards. So, yeah, the kicking game has gotten almost too good, where it's unrecognizable from like the 1990s, where if a kicker made a 50-yard field goal, you'd be like, oh, my God, this guy's amazing. Now it's like, okay, every kicker in the league can probably make a 56-yarder, and it's kind of weird.
There was buzz at the league meetings a couple weeks ago about them perhaps narrowing the goalposts.
What?
They're not going to do it next year, but they're definitely not doing it this year. They're not doing it next year, but they think if the trend continues, that because you know the league, they want to keep things historical in terms of what'd you say?
They already hate their job. Why are you making it harder on them?
Well, it's like we're gonna punish them for having success, but it's a real thing being talked about in the league. Maybe they should just narrow them. What
if you know what? How many points should you get if you kick a kickoff through an upright? Because that's hard to do now.
That should be a point.
That should be a point.
You should get 1 point for that.
Yes.
Yeah. See, we should be on the competition committee. We should be the ones pitching all this. You know what? I forgot to ask you in regards to the Commanders, because I'm so interested in what you think for their stadium. If you had the dream place I know you live in Chicago, so it's not like they're going to be there, but where would you love the stadium to be put?
You ever seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
You remember when they bought Jenny's old house and then just bulldozed it to the ground?
Yes.
That's Dan Snyder's old mansion. Blow it up. He already cleared the trees out on the river. It's got a great view. Just bulldoze that, blow it up, and then build the stadium right there and never let him back. He's not even allowed to say the word Commanders. I would love nothing more than just take over, just completely reclaim the narrative from him.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, do you have any burning questions for us about your Commanders?
Burning questions. Yeah. So when do we think Luke McCaffrey is going to get more touches on offense?
I don't know. I mean, what kind of question is that?
If he's taken away Scary Terry and Zach Ertz and all those guys from it, no, don't like it.
He's also a great blocking wide receiver, which I appreciate. Yeah. I'm the only person in America, I think, that owns a camo. It's the Arctic Camo Salute to Service Luke McCaffrey jersey.
I love that so
I just
much.
got it. Got delivered from China.
Well, I'm sure you have Cliff's number. Real. You can just call him up and say, hey, can you please just get him some touches?
Yeah, let's get
Why do you
Cliff
want him
involved.
to get – I mean, they seem fine. It's not like there's some dying need for him to get involved.
He's putting up some good yak. He catches the ball, and he's
sometimes you need those
there's only
blocking
one
receivers. You know
we
what I
only
mean?
got one McCaffrey in the NFL right now, and he needs to step up and contribute a little bit more if he can get the ball more.
I'm sure you have a theory about his brother.
I've got theories. I don't know if I can say them on a reputable, journalistically respected podcast.
I mean,
you
you just said that the new stadium should be on Dan Snyder's old house after you bulldoze it.
Blow it up.
Yeah, something Tepper would do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him, but I hope Luke gets at least some more recognition for putting in the dirty work. And then I also hope that Ben Sennett catches a few more touchdowns because he won our Lowman Trophy Award last year at Kansas State. We give it to the best fullback in college football every single year. And he was like a hybrid fullback and tight end. And I think he's just being used at the tight end position right now for the Commanders. But he caught his first touchdown pass on a play named Taylor Swift.
How do you feel about? I was just going to say, did you know it was called Taylor Swift? How do you feel about that?
I don't know how to feel about it. He said that they also have a play called Kelsey that they put in. But I think that was Cliff. He did say we have a play called Kelsey, a play called Taylor Swift, but they're not married to each other. I think that Cliff went into this press conference and he's like, I've got a great joke. I'm going to say that the name of that play was Taylor Swift and that we also have a Kelsey. Then I'm going to make a married joke. I think that Cliff scripted. He did you script the first 15, 20 plays of a game. I think he scripted the first 15 minutes of his press conference today.
I find Cliff's just story in general to be pretty wild, right? Just where he's gone and now him just being able, he came on Scoop City just talking about just being focused on play calling versus the whole CEO part of the job. I very rarely talk to a coordinator who seems really happy being the coordinator and not happy being the head coach. Most are I miss running the show. He was like, nope, I'm good. I don't want to do any of that anymore. At least for now. Just in terms of the success he's had, did you expect him to be this good with this offense?
I didn't think that the offense was going to be this good this fast. Definitely not. And I'm very happy for Terry McLaurin that it has been this good this fast because that guy's been through a lot.
He's
and
had some quarterbacks.
Watching him catch balls in stride for the first time in his career is just special to see. So I like what the offense has done. And Cliff, he might be just a great coordinator. And that you shouldn't say that it's a bad thing. Some people are just really good coordinators, and that's an awesome, awesome thing. We see it on the defensive side of the ball
Steve
a lot. Spagnuolo, Vic Fangio, Brian Flores. These guys are great coordinators. Robert Saleh, and it doesn't always translate to them being a great head coach. So if he doesn't want any of that stuff that goes along with it, I am completely happy with that because one of the biggest fears is your offense gets good, then your coordinator gets poached, and then your quarterback has to learn a new system, and who knows how that's going to translate. So if Cliff wants to stick around for a while, I'd be very, very happy to have him.
You think the Jets are making the playoffs?
The New York Jets?
The 2-5 Jets?
Are you talking about Winnipeg? Are you talking about Winnipeg?
Yeah,
NHL? Yeah, I want them to because it's the most entertaining, crazy story, week in, week out. There's always something weird going on up there. So just from a podcaster perspective, I root for storylines. And
if you root for storylines, your favorite storyline of the entire NFL year. Go.
Favorite
from a
storyline.
podcaster.
I know. I was having this conversation the other day with someone. Someone's like, "This year's boring." I don't think this year's boring at all.
No.
I mean, it's got to be the Jets trying to figure out how their season is saved every single week.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Jerry Jones for you.
I mean, Jerry Jones, he's just the gift that keeps on giving. We need better plays. I love him saying we need better plays.
Unbelievable. Your head coach calls him out. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's unreal. But I think, the New York Jets, they've just been the gift that keeps on giving. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks so much for stopping by, Scoop City. Most people don't know this that listen to the show, but our name, Scoop City, came from that brain. And the voice that you just heard, it was his idea to say, I got this thought, call it Scoop City. So it all came together. So thanks to you.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for telling me that, Dianna. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I took the credit for it. All right, dude. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And I'm sure we will see you soon.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
All right, back here in Scoop City. Chase, you might have seen that story this week about the Dallas Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey. He had to miss practice, right? Because he had to go to jury duty. He was put on a panel, according to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. This whole situation is wild. To think in Texas, he couldn't get off jury duty, right? Where football is like God there. But it also reminded us.
Jury summons right here that I'm showing you, legitimate. And their excuse was submitted on July 14th because I work in LA. I can't make this up. It's literally sitting right on my desk. I really hope I'm not held in contempt of court because I haven't heard back. But it says jury summons right there.
You just called yourself out.
Sorry.
Right,
skipped out.
Yeah, call PFT. He'll bail you out. He's good at that. But it reminded us here at Scoop City that we've got our own justice system. And it's me. Okay?
With a kitchen whisk.
With a kitchen whisk. I'm the judge, and this is how it's going to work, all right? I'm going to read a statement making the case for something. It might be related to football, might not. And I'll make a ruling, upheld or dismissed. So upheld or dismissed. You have to state your argument, though. You can appeal it, too, if you want. But
so what do I win? Do I win if it's upheld?
I mean, we'll make it a law. How about that? We'll make it a law here in Scoop City.
Yes.
Okay?
There you go.
All right, so here we go. Order. All right, Chase, you tweeted Justin Herbert throwing for over 300 yards with this crew is quite possibly the single greatest accomplishment of the NFL season. We talked about this earlier. Do you want to defend this before I decide upheld or dismissed?
Do I have to go under oath first?
I trust your word. You're a man of God.
Okay. No, look, he threw for 346 yards, Dianna. Okay, with Will Dissly, Josh Palmer, Simi Fehoko, Jalen Rieger, Stone Smart, Lad McConkey, Kamani Vidal, and Eric Tomlinson. The dude is legit. That's my argument.
Upheld. I'm in agreement with you. Look, you make some really good arguments as to why the Chargers need to get aggressive before the trade deadline. They just based on the stats you're reading and just the magic he's making with these middle tier pass catchers.
Dianna? Middle?
Okay.
Low.
This is a respectful court. Robert Saleh attended Packers practice and is helping with their offense. He was seen there hanging out. Obviously, him and Matt LaFleur, really good friends. They came up through the NFL together. Yeah. This is a better move for him than taking some time to chill out on a beach somewhere. What do you think Robert Saleh should be doing?
No, he these football coaches, Dianna, I'm telling you, you know, but they bleed football. I think if he were to go on vacation, he would miss it so much and start thinking about all that went wrong with the Jets. This is a way for him to get his mind off everything.
Yeah, he was fired so early in the football season that I think taking a vacation just would have been too long. There's too much football in front of him on Sundays, on television, on Twitter that I think I'm with you. I think this would have been a painful breakup here. So I'm going to agree with you. This is upheld. So good job. Scoop City co-host and longtime NFL quarterback Chase Daniels' take about Justin Fields are still correct, despite the Steelers' victory last weekend.
Oh, I love me some Justin Fields. So look, he got benched after throwing 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's the first quarterback since 1950 to start 4-2 and go into his 7th game as a starter and get benched. He's the only one to ever do that. Now, it looks good that Russell Wilson threw for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I'm a Justin Fields fan to the death of me.
Dismissed. I think Mike Tomlin made a gutsy move going to Russell Wilson, and I think he's gonna be able to spark this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And I know it was a tough first half, but I think the second half, some of the rust came off. I think the comfort started to come back to him. He appeared nervous even in that pregame. I think everything just calmed down for him. So I still think Justin Fields is good. I just think going to Russell Wilson was the good move. Handing out full-size candy bars on Halloween is in bounds.
That's a good one. I think it's ridiculous that you're handing out full-size candy bars. What are you trying to give our youth cavities? Are you trying to spoil our kids? You get one small candy bar, like the small size Snickers if you come to my house and I'm putting it in. You can't just grab it.
Upheld. I have a neighbor on my street that gives out those full candy bars. And their front lawn is packed with kids. So I'm in agreement just because I feel bad for the people that do that. It seems very expensive.
Expensive?
I mean, those candy bars they've got to be, what, $2 each?
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's very expensive.
Yeah, I always got that kind of cash to be spending on candy. So I just think for their own sanity, they're nuts for supplying kids with so much of that. Although I remember last year, my little guys, it didn't even, the candy bars they picked didn't even fit in their little pumpkin buckets because they have the little ones.
Bigger
they're
pumpkin
babies.
Buckets, Diana.
They shouldn't be eating that crap. All right, speaking of Halloween, dressing up with your kid on Halloween is fun and cool.
Fun and cool. 100%. I don't care if you dismiss. I don't care if you upheld. We do it every single year. This year we're Star Wars, and I am Darth Vader. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, fitting. That's a good one for you. What were you last year? Do you remember?
I am your father. I was Bowser. We were Mario. And the year before, we were Moana. And I was Maui. No, I wasn't Maui. I was a clam. I wore a purple jumpsuit. Yeah.
That is a great costume. I want to get a photo of that because I want to see that. Hopefully, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, we got a photo of you dressed as a clam. I'm going to dismiss that. I don't know. I love Halloween's my favorite holiday.
Are you too cool? This court sucks.
No, that's not it. When I was single, Halloween
Wait till your kids get older.
Mike, I go all out on their costumes. Mikey was an ice cream truck when he was 1. The other guy was a hot dog stand.
I was a Wizard of Oz one year. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to just make it about them and push them around. And also,
you're too cool to dress up.
It's not too cool.
No,
Maybe
that's exactly what the vibes you're giving out. And when you were single, you probably went in the city and dressed up like you girls do and just want all this attention, family
that
friendly. That
is not
please.
me. See, I wish you knew me better because you would know that my angle when I was single and would dress up for Halloween was never to go hot, sexy, and inappropriate. It was always to go ridiculous, funny. What are you thinking?
Funny. I
it was almost like
that.
The stranger and funnier and trendier of what people were just a random item. That always just got laughs and always made that fun. Oh, I miss those days. All right, finally, cutting lines, pushing through. Oh, this is good for you. Cutting lines, pushing through an airport or a plane is okay.
Why is it good for me?
Because I've seen you in an airport.
Yeah, but I didn't cut any lines. I think it's atrocious if you cut lines. Just wait. You know what else I hate is when people stand up right when the plane gets there. Bro, chill out. You're going to get off.
So I don't know anyone in my life that is okay with that. But yet we all see so many people do it. Who are these creatures?
They're heathens,
that do it?
Is what they are.
They're mutants, actually. And I mean, it is a free-for-all, the way people get up. And I can't say that. So I'm with you, upheld. Cutting lines or pushing through an airport or on a plane is
So I only got two dismissed. The Fields and the dress up as your kids.
Wait, my final one before we go, because we got to go here.
Wait, we got
my final one.
Okay.
And I want our listeners to definitely weigh in if you guys are still listening to the show at this point. Is it okay if you are late to the airport and you're close to, like you're cutting it close and the line is long, to politely go up to the people and explain your situation and cut the line?
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
I'm totally cool with that. In fact, I if you are out there and you see me in the airport and you're running late, I will let you cut in line. That's the worst feeling ever.
Here, that's what I say. If
the worst
everyone knows that anxiety, we've all been there. And there's
anxiety
nothing worse when you have that one person that refuses to let the person through or is rolling their eyes. Just let them. Everyone is just trying to survive, So upheld on that. Be nice to people. Good manners is a good thing. All right, that'll do it. Speaking of good manners, thank you guys for hanging out with us here on Scoop City. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.